Okay, so for those of you who are here, thanks so much for joining. I'm Deanne Smith with the Career Development Center, and I am on your employer relations team, students. So I try to work as externally as I can on behalf of Appalachian, reaching out to all kinds of employers, you name it, from the arts to hard sciences, and receiving inquiries from employers too, so that we can try to build connections and relationships and partnerships with employers, so that hopefully the result becomes jobs and internships for students, and then this amazing infiltration of great Appalachian talent in top organizations, the Southeast, across the nation, worldwide. That's our goal. And so this panel was planned to complement the Mid-Year Energy Summit that the Office of Sustainability coordinated for earlier today. From participating in the past, they do a fabulous job, always have amazing panelists. They don't always have organizations and employers who actually have positions. So we wanted to create a connection and loop students back to organizations that actually do have hiring opportunities right now or will in the future. So for example, Carrie from Green State Power is working on her posting. Watson Electrical, Southern Energy Management actually attended our recruiting fair on Tuesday. And so I have some prepared questions that Geraldine and I can ask, but students, I really want to challenge you. Take this the direction that will help you. A lot of the panels that we've been doing, and we've been doing a lot with our Career Connect series, are kind of high level about the job search process. We're going to open with these employers about industry details and, specifically how they're relevant to the sustainable and renewable energy industry. And, so if you want to get technical, I invite you to lead us that direction. So just help us I don't think we're gonna have any trouble keeping the conversation going, but we want it to go the direction you want. So I'll just kick us off and ask the employers to start off. Tell us who you are. Tell us about your companies, anything about your career path to date and your current position in your company. And as I mentioned, tell us how you're relevant. I cannot speak to the technical side of sustainable technology and renewable energy. So I'm going to ask you to tell the students how your company is relevant in this space. And then I'll turn it over to Geraldine and we'll start talking about opportunities and positions. So Tom, how about you kick us off? We'll go Tom, Matt, Carrie.
Sure. My name is Tom Headlee. I'm President and Chief Operating Officer for Watson Electrical. Watson started in 1935 in the height of the Great Depression by a man named Dick Watson. His purpose when he started the company was to bring electrical power to Eastern North Carolina. A lot of us look at Eastern North Carolina today as being rural. It was really rural back in 1935. And so his idea was to bring electricity out to the eastern part of the state. And from there, fast forward, we developed the company over time. We're now in 3 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. We have 8 offices. And in about 2009, we really started to research into the renewable energy market. As we explored that, we found that one place that we probably would really fit well is on the solar side. So we got our first utility size field back in 2010. And back in 2010, by the way, that meant it was 1 megawatt, which back then was big. Fast forwarded to 2014, we were doing several projects a year. 2016, we gotten even bigger, it had to have its own division. 2017, we had to hire a group vice president to run it on its own. 3 years later, it's more than doubled in size. So we do utility size fields in the 3 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, 10 megawatts and up. We also will do battery storage projects, which those are fun. That's an emerging part of the market. We do up in Virginia. Virginia actually has a really cool program where they're bringing solar to schools, to a lot of the public schools around the state. We've got a customer brings us in to do the electrical work. On the utility fields, our scope of work is electrical. We wire all the way, from the modules all the way back to the utility. So in the world of renewables, that's what we do with the utility size fields. We're getting ready to go into Georgia. Be our first job in Georgia later this year. So that's kind of how we developed into the solar part. We have 4 other groups within the company. The largest group is commercial. We are heavy, our largest vertical market, and that is hospitals, healthcare. Second is secondary education. We have a group that does nothing but apartments, all in 3 states. So think big multifamily apartments. We actually have a group that does traffic signals, your stoplights. Smaller group, they're geared more to Eastern North Carolina. And then we have what we call Watson Energy. So Watson Energy is a group that does all end user facility work, and they work a lot to save energy consumption within a facility. We have special testing and other things that we do service-wise for those facilities to make sure they're running efficiently and saving as much power as they can. So that kind of is in a nutshell the company in a quick overview. Do you want me to talk about my career now a little bit?
Sure, give us a quick rundown.
So I will tell you, so my career is totally sideways. I'm not an engineer and I'm not an electrician. I'm an economics major. So I graduated with my degree in economics. And so everybody's wondering, well, how in the world did you get to this point? One of the biggest things that I learned when I came out of college, the first job I had was a failure. 1 year out of school, they let me go. Should have. I hated the job. It was terrible. I had picked a job because it was going to pay me the most money. And back in 1992, many moons ago, I was interested. I was coming out. I wanted the most money. I got it, but I hated the job. And it was a good lesson right out of the gate for me. My second job, I had a really good mentor. Don't ever underestimate having a really good mentor when you get somewhere. I would have never got where I am today without him. He was fantastic. He fed and told me what I need to do. I listened, and I was working in construction, although in a credit facility, an underwriting facility. He said, learn as much as you can about construction, and I just read as much as I could. I consumed the books. I was very curious. And the one thing I can say is throughout my career, that curiosity of learning and understanding has probably been the number one thing that's helped me get where I'm at today. Fast forward through it, I went to work for a general contractor to really learn the construction piece. But after a couple of years of that, we moved back to North Carolina because that was a family move for us. We had a 2-year-old son at the time. My wife and I both want to come back to North Carolina. We did that. And lo and behold, 2 years after that, I went to work for Watson. Started out in business development, knew a lot about the construction business, knew nothing about electrical work. But again, I asked a lot of questions. I understood what I didn't know, and I'm not afraid to tell you what I don't know. So I asked a lot of questions and eventually wound my way through Watson. And 16 years later, moved my way all the way to president of Watson. So just because you start out somewhere doesn't mean that's where you're going to finish. So as you go through your career and you're thinking about these things, your first job out of college, it's important, but it's not a make or break deal. So don't stress over it too much because you never know where you're going to end up.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, those are great stories to share, and thank you. And I'd love to just share with our audience here that Tom and another gentleman from Watson Electrical joined an event we had 2018, I think. And, so as I'm listening to your story right now, I realize, wow, that's a big investment for a president to actually be one of the representatives at one of our events. Usually it's a recruiter, it's somebody from HR. So I'm taking that today as, a sign of your investment in your people and in your organization, and where you're choosing to invest your time and resources in terms of hiring. So thanks so much for working well with us and becoming such a partner since. Okay, Matt, I know you've got a story as an app grad, and I'll pitch too that Maria Kingery is an app grad, and I know she's co-owner leaders with her husband. And so please tell us about Southern Energy Management and yourself.
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about Southern Energy Management first. Actually, it's kind of funny to think back because so I graduated in 2005 with an undergraduate degree, and then subsequently went back for a master's degree. But even back then, our company was founded in 2001, so we're a lot newer than Watson Electrical. Even in, so that's, I'm just doing the math in my head here, 2004, 5, even then, the Kingerys were well known in the App State circle because of their work in the solar field. So my knowledge of Southern Energy preceded me working here by about almost 15 years. But it was good to know that they were involved with the community. And Bob still sits on, until very recently, sits on some of the technology advisory board up there, if I'm not mistaken. So needless to say, App State is kind of near and dear to our heart. I want to say out of a team that I currently manage of about 26 people, I believe 11 of those are App State graduates, which is pretty impressive by the numbers. So I guess a little bit more about our company. We are here in North Carolina. I guess you could call it a family business because Bob and Maria are the mom and pops, even though Maria has kind of moved on to some other ventures, other leadership coaching opportunities, and Bob remains very active in the business. We are based out of Raleigh, but we, at this point, our services cover from Wilmington to Charlotte, and then in South Carolina from Greenville all the way down to Charleston. So we do a lot of different things, actually. What I'm here today is representing our Builder Energy Services branch of business, which is mostly HERS rating, if you're familiar with that. If not, it's a third-party service provided mostly to residential builders who want to seek or attain green certifications, Energy Star for Home certifications. It can be used for energy efficient mortgages, zero energy homes if we incorporate the solar. So it's more of a consulting arm of the business. And what we're doing is physically being out there in the field with builders to give them that feedback, to ensure program compliance, to help them meet those goals. And that could be tied to sales, it could be tied to their corporate mission, any number of things, but it's certainly tied to our corporate mission. That said, our mission is to change the way people make and use energy. So my branch of business on the Builder Energy Services side is one aspect. We also are a solar installer. So I don't think we're competing with Tom because we're doing mostly residential stuff at this point. We're not doing any utility scale work. We've dipped our toes in that in the past, and it wasn't the right fit for our company. So the other lines of business that we have right now are the Builder Energy Services, which is residential new construction, North and South Carolina, residential solar, also North and South Carolina. We're getting into that multifamily line of business, which is very similar to the Builder Energy Services, but in a multifamily environment, an energy audit or performance testing looks a little bit different than it does in a house. So we're in 16 states with that line of business on the East Coast and the Southwest. And what's cool is that as all those things have grown exponentially over the last 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of other opportunities have popped up within the company. So for example, marketing associates, graphic designers, salespeople, account managers, all those other positions follow the volume of work that we have started to see. So it's exciting to not just have one opportunity available. Just a little bit more about Southern Energy while we're talking. We are a B corporation. So for those of you who are not familiar, I would encourage you to check it out. But what that means to us is that we believe that business can be used as a force for good. So we are very much a for-profit company, but we believe in a triple bottom line. And for us, that means people, profit, and planet. We have to invest in our people, our communities, and we have to make sure that the work that we're doing is good, whether it's for the environment or for the people or for whatever it may be, to support our core mission, which again is to change the way people make and use energy. So that's exciting. It feeds into our mission, to have an environmental focus as a company, and to have that be one of our main drivers is our reduction of kilowatt hours, or cars taken off the road. You can convert those metrics into anything you want. but we have a pretty big environmental impact with our work every year. And I think that, Tom mentioned going for the job with, the most money, and he was unsatisfied with that. Because a lot of people want to have a job that they know that have a positive impact. They want to have a meaning, a purpose for their work. They don't necessarily just want to stand on an assembly line or sell and trade, whatever it may be. I'm very tactile. I've been very hands-on my whole life. As Deanne mentioned, I am an App State graduate. I graduated from the tech department in 2005 with an undergraduate degree in appropriate technology. If you're not familiar, that's mostly renewable energy and sustainability, right? Didn't go very far out of school. I also didn't like my first job, and it wasn't high paying. It was a technical job spraying foam insulation. And boy, I couldn't get back into a master's program at App State fast enough after doing that job for about a year and a half. So probably one of the better choices I've ever made, with significant persuasion from my now wife, also a double App State grad, and my family, was to go back and then continue studying. And kind of the conclusion that I came to is that solar is great. I'm not going to argue with that. It's more accessible and cheaper than it's ever been, right? But before we get to solar, think of the analogy of recycling, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, if solar is recycling, before we get to recycle, we need to reduce and reuse first. And that was kind of the conclusion of my studies at App State, was that, if you've got a house that needs $50,000 worth of solar panels, but we could make it 50% more energy efficient, why wouldn't we do that first? Which kind of led to this path of energy efficient construction, green building, consulting. Where I find myself now with the company is I'm the field operations manager for the Builder Energy Services team. So again, we've got 25 field raters and other staff in 2 states. So that's pretty exciting in a short 7 years that I've been with the company. But we're certainly very proud of what we do, and we're proud to have so many App State graduates, since so many of us are from App State or Asheville or Wilmington. It's exciting stuff.
Thanks, Carrie. Well, you take it from here. And the one thing I was going to share real quick, I found an article, some sort of statement on your website, and I thought this was an interesting statistic. It says, the Southeast led the country in manufacturing-related clean energy jobs, with more than 13,700 new jobs announced in 2012, accounting for 80% of the nation's total. I realize that's dated information, but I found that on your website. I thought that was really interesting. So Carrie is the Vice President of Green State Energy. It's a family business, I believe, and we're real excited to have you with us. So thanks again for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Deanne. My name's Carrie Stewart. I'm the Vice President. I wear a lot of hats within the company. As Tom and Matt said, we are the youngest company here. We were started in 2010 by actually my brother and my husband. So they became business partners and really just started with wanting to put solar on my brother's house, and turned into an opportunity to put some solar on a commercial rooftop, and kind of grew it from there. We have now our core business is commercial rooftop solar, turnkey design and engineering. And we have more recently, in the last 2 years, started a lighting and electrical team that really focuses on LED retrofits for commercial buildings. So, and then the other kind of part of our business, we have a smaller solar farm development piece, which I help manage and work with landowners all over the country to help identify parcels and see if it's a good fit for a potential solar farm, and then get them connected to the longer term solar developers that would actually take the farm into completion. So we really just do the front end development on that side. We've had some very successful fun projects that we've been able to work on recently. Had a fair amount of solar carports, one for Duke University, and recently completed a fun project with Lenovo on their RGB campus that has kind of like a solar wall on the front. Looks really cool. And Tom, you appreciate, we work with Watson a lot. and have y'all's team come do a little subcontracting with us. So appreciate your expertise on that field as well. We're a small company. We've got about 12 people that are involved in the day-to-day full-time business, and then work with a lot of subcontractors. Right now, we've got about 25 guys that are pretty much full-time with us, but working through subcontractors, and those are specifically lighting jobs. And currently, all those guys right now are in the Rockingham County school system. Sorry, guys. So they're at Rockingham County school system, changing out all the lights in the whole school system. And we work with general contractors who are going in and doing a lot of these performance contracts, where they can come in and work with the school system and update their HVAC and their lighting and save the school money all at the same time. So we'd love the opportunity to do those, and it also gave us the chance to diversify our business and make sure that, while our kind of core business is this commercial solar, we've really enjoyed expanding into the lighting business these last few years. I would say my role within the company and kind of my career path, I was a UNC Chapel Hill grad and went into the banking world. So I worked for BB&T and did commercial loan underwriting for about 8 years. And then as the family business was growing, this is one thing that, it's kind of scary to take a big leap of faith and, put all your eggs in one basket. But my husband and I decided that I would come on full time and work with Green State Power. And that was about 3 years ago now. And it was a great decision. But of course, you never know that at the time when you're about to lose your health insurance. Figure out how you're going to redo all that. So always encourage being okay to take a risk. And now we're learning the small business world and all the challenges and opportunities that we have as small business owners.
Well,
and another area that we're actually just getting into too is EV charging stations. So we're just submitted an RFP today, actually. And I think we're working with the Proterra bus manufacturer in the city of Greensboro and hopefully the city of Raleigh, and working to do some EV charging stations.
Well, thank you all very much for those great overviews. It's nice to meet you. Our next question for you is a little bit about your current hiring needs. So if you could maybe share with us your maybe position titles and some details about the responsibilities of the roles that you are currently recruiting for. And Carrie, we'll start with you since we've got you on.
Sure. So we are looking to hire. We're currently looking kind of for a solar O&M technician. And this, although I'm kind of more the admin and kind of running the HR piece here, I am not the technical person. So we're currently fleshing out kind of what the specifics of that role would entail. But a lot of learning experience in the field for both solar installation and some lighting experience. But I think that the cool thing about the O&M position, at least with solar, is that there's a lot of troubleshooting involved. And, you can go in and it's not going to be just, slamming the panel on and not having a challenge to use your brain and really work through. It's figuring out where an issue is and, which area of the system is involved and what kind of troubleshooting you need to do to get it fixed and working at full capacity again.
Thank you. Matt, what do you have cooking over at Southern Energy Management?
You'd think I'd been doing Zooms for 12 months and I'd know to unmute myself. 2020 has been an interesting year, where it kind of started kind of in a slump and ended in a surge. Obviously, as most of y'all know, if you've been following, the news or any kind of market trends, construction, real estate sales are way up in North Carolina. Raleigh also happens to be in Charlotte, as it's close behind, one of the most active and productive real estate markets in the whole country, with growing everywhere. It's almost bittersweet being from this area to see, farms getting cut out for neighborhoods. But at least we know that, when we're building these houses, we're going in, we're doing Energy Star, we're doing green programs, that we're building a better quality product. And somebody is actually accountable for making sure that those targets are met and they're not checking the box. All that said, we're expecting big things in 2021. I was somewhat overwhelmed by the response when I started posting positions back in the fall before the holidays. That a lot of people are looking for work right now, so that's exciting, but it's a competitive time for sure, depending on, what industry you're looking at getting into. So the positions that I primarily hire for are field positions. So that is the HERS rater position. That is basically an independent third-party rater that would come in and consult and work with the builders to meet those specifications. So we're looking at things like framing and insulation, at rough inspection to make sure that they are of, the proper quality. And then at the final inspection, we're actually doing the testing on the houses. So running the blower door and the duct blaster and doing the performance data testing. And the ultimate deliverable to those builders is the HERS rating, which is a computer model of the house as built and confirmed by the HERS rater. So, it's an entry-level position. The best thing I can say to it is that, the one thing that, and I will, let me disclaimer here, App State does a great job of getting folks hands-on, whether it's with the renewable projects, putting up, wind turbines or solar, or working on, like the solar decathlon team or whatever it is. There's so many opportunities to get real hands-on experience. That is the differentiator when it comes to hiring for some of the higher level positions. And it's why I would encourage anybody, like Tom said, if you can find a good company and a good mentor, I think you're going to be a lot happier and you're going to grow a lot faster. Even in an entry-level position, you're going to be ready for the next thing that comes along. So there's so much room to learn and train that I've been doing houses for 15 years, since I was a graduate student at App State. And I stand by it that if I go out in the field tomorrow, I will probably see something I've never seen or noticed before, just if I engage myself. So it's exciting and it's challenging. But the biggest thing is it's a great way to cut your teeth, whatever aspect of construction you want to be in. If you want to build houses, great. Learn how to build them right. If you want to be a project manager, or a quality assurance person, or a salesperson, you have to know the process from the inside out. And so there's actually many positions available at Southern Energy right now. And I'd encourage y'all to check out the website. Some of these are entry-level positions like a BES field technician or like a solar installer. And the solar installer, we have crews, it kind of is what it sounds like, but we always prefer when it's time to hire that next marketing agent or salesperson or project manager to hire internally, because we know that those folks have invested in our company and at least in the industry, and they're ready to take on those higher level challenges. So it's kind of a chance to prove yourself as well. That said, those are the two kind of entry-level positions that I'm looking at right now. But for example, we're expecting big things in 21. So we have also got office positions available, a builder services coordinator, marketing associate positions, new home solar sales associates, and outside commercial sales associates. So we are dabbling into light commercial as well. But lots of jobs, lots of expected growth this year. In all areas of business, which is a really positive sign, I think, for our industry.
Thanks, Matt. And Tom, how about y'all over at Watson? What do you have?
So every summer we hire interns. We started that about 2 years ago. So we're always looking for interns every summer, whether it's solar, commercial, multifamily. We'll hire, anywhere from 5 to 7 interns every summer if we can. We like to get them, even if it's after your freshman year, after your sophomore year, after your junior year, does not matter. I encourage you to get involved within the industry or with a company as early as you can. My son does building construction, and he's been interning since after his freshman year. I thought that was pretty cool, so we started it. and it works really well. So don't be afraid. Doesn't matter what year you are. We have a 3-step process depending on when you start. So internships are always available. We love to have interns in. The way that we do it, as you work through the process, if you're done after your junior year, we've hired two App State folks, total 4 interns, and flipped them over to permanent after they did their internship in one summer, right? So we love the interns, love having them. So we're looking for those. At the same time, we also look to hire graduates and we have a construction management training program that we put them through. If you didn't do an internship, it's different because you've already worked for us for a summer and you've kind of been through some of that already. But if you haven't, that's okay. We bring you in. It's a 2-year program. You come in, as Matt said, you're going to start working in the field. You need to understand how things are put together. You do that for a short period of time. You work in estimating for a while. So at the end of your training program, you've done a little bit of everything within that group to get a feel for all of it. And then after that, we sit down and go through where you want your career to go after that. But it's a great way to really get your feet wet and learn about not just the company, but the solar work and the construction and really see where you would fit during that period of time. Yeah, it is full time. It's a salaried position, all that kind of good stuff. So good way to get started. So those are the two areas that we have that we're hiring for.
You waiting on me, Geraldine? Am I next? I didn't know if we were taking turns. Sorry, you guys. Still figuring this out. All right, hang on. Okay. Tom, I just wanted to mention, so everybody, I tried to put either your handshake page, your handshake link in the chat or your website. Tom, I don't see anything about internships. So if there's something separate that we can send out, even though I think
I'll get Eric to send that.
Just let us know.
Yep.
Okay. Let me pause though. Just looking at the time, students, do you happen to have any questions you really want to ask before we keep going with our list? Are you ready? You can unmute or you can, okay, Jason, you want to go?
Yeah, I guess this is a really specific question, but basically in that panel, one of the panelists from the 2 o'clock panel that we had, she mentioned that she had to have a security clearance, and this isn't something that I'd previously thought about, but if someone has previously held a security clearance and you're applying for one of these companies, like having to do with the electricity grid, is it appropriate to put that fact on a resume?
So I would say any attributes or anything that you have, security clearance, any certifications, anything outside of experience, you always want to put that on a resume. If you've had safety training and you've been certified in certain safety pieces, you want to put those down. Anything like that you want to put on your resume because it's good information to have. That may not be something that normally a recruiter or somebody would think of, but it's definitely good to put on your resume.
Maybe a good
I would second that, definitely. If I saw somebody that had their OSHA certifications and stuff, I would want to see that on the resume.
Yeah, and so we do a lot of base work. So if you do work on a base, Lejeune, Bragg, knowing you've already got some sort of security clearance is a big plus. Because obviously to work on any of the bases, you have to have get that security clearance.
Thank you.
Okay. Students, any other questions from students?
Yeah, so kind of coming from I guess the other side. So I don't have as much hands-on experience as I would like to. And I've been applying to jobs for a couple months now. And I'm kind of worried that that's getting in the way of kind of the field of work I'm trying to get into. What would be I guess y'all's advice for someone with not as much experience trying to get into like more so like the hands-on work with stuff such as like electrical and solar.
Yeah, from our standpoint, if you're graduating with a sustainable degree, right, of any sort, when we go to interview, let's say you did an intern, right? Let's say you're graduating in May, and so you're looking for a full-time job. What we're going to really look at, and I know it's one of the questions I talk about in a candidate, you'll have enough technical knowledge, or you've learned enough to know terminology. And for us, we're good with that. For us, it's really about what we call, we're going to hire an attitude, and I'm going to teach the skills, right? I can teach you that stuff. We've got training programs. We'll teach you all that. What we really want to know, though, is do you have the right attitude? Are you going to be a good fit for us culturally? And what we talk about is we're looking for, we're looking for that people that what we call humble, hungry, and smart. If you're humble, you're willing to listen to others. You admit when you don't know everything, right? You want to ask questions. Stephen Covey says you first seek to understand and then to be understood, right? You don't have a big ego. You're a team player. You have that energy and drive to do really well. Sort of that work ethic. You want to grow. You want to learn in your career, and that you have good people skills. One thing I recommend, though, the hardest thing when you come out, you're going to enter in and have situations that are going to be really new. Those interpersonal skills, conflict resolution, general people skills in relating to others, all these become really, really important. And so when we go to hire our construction management training group, it's really about that fit and that cultural fit and that attitude. And if you've got all that, I'm gonna teach you the rest of it, right? Our training program is meant to teach that to you. I don't expect you to be able to come in and know how to wire up an inverter, right? I don't expect you to do that. I expect you probably know what one is, but I don't expect you to know how to wire it. I'll teach you that, right? But what's harder for me to teach is the attitude. So we hire for attitude and we teach the skills.
Gotcha. It's hard to go ahead, Carrie.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. It's hard to top that, but Tom's right. And I heard one thing in there, and that was culture. We have lots of little sayings at SEM. One of them is the right people, the right seat, right? We call our jobs or hats or whatever you call them seats, right? We've all got multiple seats. But if you've got the right person in the right seat, and that's very much hiring based on their attitude, a cultural fit with the company, with the work, that you can be very successful. What that college degree means, and it varies so much what everybody's course of study is that you've applied yourself and you've proven that you can learn. You know what I mean? That's one of the more valuable aspects of it. And the same for the master's programs as well. So that carries a lot of meaning there, but we're pretty hardcore about that. And if we can find the right people, we can absolutely teach them, to go from a walk or a crawl to a run, in a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever it may take. So I think that, my advice to you, regardless of what employer you choose to work with, is find somebody who's going to support you in meeting those goals over the next, let's just say 3 to 5 years, because that's what's going to prepare you for an account manager position or a management position. I mean, that's like a whole nother skill set, right? Like I'm a great building scientist, but man, people are tricky. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just second on that. We came to App State because we'd heard such great things about the program that y'all have and the sustainability and the construction side, and really foresee a lot of integrations and how that can add value to what we have at our company. So don't underestimate that part of your education. Having said that, there are some other things that we do love to look for. Things that you can do on your own, whether it's NABCEP certification, that is awesome, or like a board certified energy practitioner, things like that would add a lot of value to our company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for your answer. That helps out a lot.
Okay, I've got more prepared. Are there? I want to give students the chance to ask about anything that you're curious about, though. I think you have the best questions of any of us.
I did have another question. It's, you know, I kind of keep on Indeed and like LinkedIn a lot, just like looking around, and I'm a junior, so I won't be graduating until May of next year. But like, how early is too early to apply for a job?
I think that's a great question. And I'd kind of be curious to hear from Deanne and some of the others on the call, because I've definitely had folks applying, 6 months out, you know what I mean? And it's like, on the one hand, that's not super helpful for me to fill a position in the next 30 days. But on the other hand, we know each other, right? So like, we have a conversation. So I have multiple conversations going with guys who are graduating or gals who have graduated. And so it's kind of good to have that knowledge and some feelers out in the industry. So I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here and say that, well, don't apply 6 months out. But on the other hand, maybe there's some value in that to make those connections, to have somebody at the company that, is aware and knows when you're going to be coming out of school.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say as a junior, for example, if you found a good internship this summer and that goes really well, generally we're making a permanent offer upon graduation pretty much at the end of that summer. So we had one intern, an App State intern last summer. He finished up. He actually wanted to come to work for us over holidays. He came to work for us over Christmas holidays. We made him a full-time offer Christmas, and he graduated in May. So that happens as well. That's why I think that internship is, a big deal, because that's a really good way to maybe find a home after graduation. But you can never, I agree. 6 months out, I'd do it. Definitely start looking, because employers will know. I mean, we know what we need to hire, and especially if you constantly hire college graduates, they're coming in May. We start looking in the fall.
I would say we're a little different in that we are fairly new to the recruiting aspect, whereas in the past we've kind of just filled positions immediately as soon as we have some, but are definitely interested in starting these conversations earlier.
Awesome, thank you.
And Jason, I just want to point out, more than 20 of the employers participating in the fair on Tuesday are offering internships according to their registration information. So if you want to connect separately on any of that, happy to help. And I'm pretty sure Watson and SEM are in that group. So Geraldine can meet with you. I'm happy to give some employer insight as well.
Yeah, I'm going to butt in here too. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself really, but Jason and the rest of the students, I'm your career coach. And so happy to help you with any of these questions. But to just reiterate what our panelists said, I don't think it's ever too early to start networking. So coming to events like this or the Energy Summit and then reaching out to our panelists afterwards and keeping in contact with them is never a bad idea.
No. Yeah, the LinkedIn thing, by the way, really good. The network that you develop is really, really important, not just for today, but throughout your career. Don't underestimate that value of having a good network of people. I got, it was weird. I will tell you, I was I'm older, right? So the social thing is kind of, I'm not sure, right? But I do LinkedIn, but my son, when he was a freshman, they asked him to start. I'll be honest with you, I poo-pooed it a little bit, right? But now that he's a junior, and he did his internships and he does this, well, he's built pretty nice little LinkedIn and following and people, and which has been great. And to be honest, I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. If you guys get done, you're interested, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm sure the other Matt and Carrie, be the same way. You know, and anything you can do like that is a really good idea.
Yeah, I can't stress enough the value of following up. You know, even if you're talking to people who do not have current opportunities, still email, still LinkedIn. Make sure you do that. I'm going to challenge you to do that with all three of these folks within the next 24 hours, because I hear a lot from employers. Yeah, I didn't hear from any students. And so, you know, keep in mind that they've all taken time from their workday. Carrie is balancing children, you know, and commuting to talk with us today. Just follow up, say thanks for your time. If there's something you learned that you're going to remember and take away, share that. That personalizes that follow-up. And so, you know, you'd be surprised. I mean, you would really set yourself apart by doing that. And Geraldine and all of our career coaches offer LinkedIn workshops and appointments related to that. So you can get the quick and, you know, the down and the dirty on all of that, and link in with us and other people on campus. And Carrie even had a great story when we were connecting a few weeks ago about a candidate who they met with a few months ago, and they didn't have anything, but then something changed and you know, it worked out. So I don't know if we have time to tell that whole story. I'm just trying to look at the time. Stu, your questions are following perfectly the questions that I had prepared. Are there any other burning questions from Wyatt or Jenna or Jason or Matthew? You can ask more than one question.
That's right.
So, you know, I think you know, this is a good reminder that, you know, students don't always know what they don't know. And so talking about LinkedIn, maybe let's jump in as one of my last questions, and I'm going to respect everybody's time and wrap up before 5. But let's talk about interviews in this field. And because we're gonna have great LinkedIn profiles, you're gonna have great resumes because of working with Geraldine. You've got this great education from App State. Putting it all together, any of the panelists, are there some tips and tricks to the trade that you can share? Anything that you think is really unique to interviewing in the construction management, sustainable technology field? When you talked about soft skills a little bit already, but anything that is important to know about the interview process?
I can tell you what not to do. Don't over prepare. Don't overthink it. Be yourself. Be who you are. Don't try to, you know, you'll go through these things. Well, okay, you know, let's prep for the interview, and you do want to do some prep, but don't give answers you think they want to hear. Right? It goes back to that cultural fit. If you want to fit with them and they want to fit with you, and the only way to do that, you just got to be really, really honest and candid answers, and be yourself. Don't try to force it, you know, because you may wind up with a bad fit that way, and you're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy. I think too many times people, when they go into an interview, really probably over prepare, and just be natural. Just be you. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, that's correct. You don't want to BS your way into a position that you might not really want, because it's the position right now. You know, and you can hope that whoever's interviewing you, you know, your employer, your recruiter, whatever, would give you the same respect. You know what I mean? To give you an honest layout of how that might work and how you might fit.
That's right. And don't be afraid if they ask you a question you don't know the answer. It's okay to say no.
Agreed. And you might be losing me. Responsiveness and the ability to problem solve are two things that we really look for.
Thanks, Carrie. That's all really great feedback. Let me conclude with this. Employers, instead of taking, you know, a question, let me give you a prompt. Can you think of just one last different tip or piece of wisdom that you'd like to leave the students with today?
So I would say when you come out of school, and it is a little daunting, do remember your school's going to prepare you for a lot. There's a lot you're not going to know, right? And you are going to start on the ground floor, right? And I always say, be patient, be curious, ask questions, and make sure that you work with a group where you like the people, that you're comfortable with the people, and that you really enjoy what you do. We hear that a lot, but I can tell you, a long time since I graduated, and I had jobs with, first one I didn't like. I had ones that I was at a company a while, things changed, didn't like the people, immediately left. It's just not worth it. And don't be afraid of that. Fear is your enemy, and fear will keep you from being successful. So sometimes you just got to really push through that, get through it. It's okay to take those leaps of faith and those jumps if you're doing it from the right place. So as soon as you go out in your career, where you start is not probably going to be where you're going to end, and that's okay.
Totally. Yeah, I'll take that just one step further, and don't underestimate the value of experience, whether that's, and I'm talking industry experience. I'm not talking about, necessarily like your ski mountain job. But don't underestimate the value of getting in an entry-level position and cutting your teeth. Because, if that's not the right fit, that's cool. You can move to another company and take that experience with you. You get to keep that. That's part of your education. And if it is a good fit, then it's a great way to test the water and then move into another position that maybe is better suited to your higher skills. Get involved with extracurricular stuff, anything that's hands-on, volunteer with Habitat, you'll just have a much better idea of what you're getting yourself into.
Thanks. Carrie, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sorry, I think I got hopped off. If it breaks up, I apologize. Yeah, I would just, encourage everyone to be your true, genuine self and be willing to acknowledge that you don't know the answers to everything, and just have a willingness to learn. But then, once you do learn, show some independence in trying to execute on your own, and be willing to take a risk, especially if you're, getting into the renewable energy world. That's one thing I loved about moving from the banking world. I felt like it was transaction after transaction, and moving into the solar and lighting, renewable energy, I could feel really good about the progress that we're making for our planet and just for our everyday communities, and what that shows to our kids and kind of the planet that we're leaving them. So just by being on this call today, y'all are showing a commitment to making the world a better place by your career paths. So thank you for that. And every position and job within that structure matters, whether it is an entry-level installer. You don't have to be the top of the company to really be making a difference. So thank you for your passion and interest in renewables.
Susan, you want to conclude by anything? I'll just thank everybody. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. I was just sending a few messages. So really glad that our employers could be with us. And Carrie, I'm glad that you're still in motion. You haven't crashed. And
I know. Well, we're also all real people. So, we're, it's all about a career, but also understanding that all of our employees have other lives too, and families. And we want to be sure that you can be able to do all of that.
Yes. And for me personally, I'm very grateful that I've been able to do that in my career. I'm not real good at segmenting things because life tends to kind of mesh all together. So, so students, thanks for being with us today as well as our employers. And,
yes.
Y'all, I really, I know we were talking a little bit about the building industry in North Carolina, but we are really fortunate that our state has been able to manage this pandemic as well as we have, and it's providing a million opportunities for y'all. So
thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. connect, follow up, use your resources. Those of us in career development, your faculty, employers, best of luck in your searches. Let us know what we can do to support you in the coming months as well. So thanks a lot and have a great one.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.